Watch The Simpsons, Monday through Friday at 7, only on Fox 29.
The Simpsons on Fox. No. The Simpsons on Fox. No. The Simpsons on Fox 29.
What is it?
It's time to go back.
Welcome.
Hey there, welcome back to Generation S. It's a podcast about growing up in the 90s and the early 2000s. Let me put it to you this way. If you grew up watching animated shows on TV where the people all pretty much had yellow skin, this podcast is for you. I'm Dan Kemp, joined by the Generation S Hall of Fame co-host, Lou Carnivale.
Good to be back, Dan. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, dude, absolutely. I feel like it's been a few episodes, right? I mean,
Believe so.
I'm trying to think, but you're on the next two, so this is exciting. Like, spoiler alert, you're going to be on the next episode as well.
I am,
Part
okay.
2 of, yeah,
That's a
so,
spoiler
anyway.
for me. I didn't even know that.
Oh, yeah, you're coming back on. So
Okay.
So listen, man, the reason I had you on today is because I could not think of anyone else in my life that I know personally that would do this episode justice with the amount of fandom and love and adoration for the series. And in fact, another circle to add to my Lou Carnivale Venn diagram, which I have on my wall right here. You see of different things that I can sum you up with. Because and I think that's what I love about you is that you have passion for so many different like things as far as like I don't know
Things
pop
is-
culture
Things is a good way of saying stuff.
stuff. Yeah,
Stuff.
so
Things,
like
stuff,
I mean,
and other S words.
so like when I think of you, I think like Power Rangers.
Okay.
You did that episode with me. I think a little bit of Ninja Turtles, that's a smaller circle in the Venn diagram. But Power Rangers is bigger. I think of Ghostbusters.
Okay.
I think of Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
I think of sports in general, just
Yeah.
sports,
Okay.
right? Sports guy.
Yeah, pro wrestling.
And then pro wrestling. Yeah, totally forgot
You
pro
almost
wrestling.
forgot about that.
I
It's how
know,
we
right?
became
That's literally
friends.
how we became friends. And then this other circle here is one that we have not touched on really at all for this show, and we're talking about it today. I'm so excited. We're talking The Simpsons. Another one that is on your Venn diagram, by the way, that I'm sure we'll do in the future is Family Guy as well, by the
Yep.
way. So, but like literally there's things that I think of all these things and you're the first person I think of as far as to talk to about these different subjects, right? So, we have talked, I think, pretty much since the podcast's inception about doing a Simpsons episode. And so we're actually taking a little bit of a break this month in October from the spooky stuff. The last couple episodes were definitely more scary movie and Halloween themed. And we're doing The Simpsons this week only to segue into next week's episode, which will still be The Simpsons, but a more focused discussion of The Simpsons when we're talking all about their famous Treehouse of Horror episodes. So we're going to be covering that in next week's episode. This week, we are just covering I feel like we couldn't do that episode without at least having a baseline episode to talk The Simpsons in general.
Yeah, it would be weird to go Treehouse of Horror than just Simpsons in general. It has to be general first.
Because I
and
feel
then
like
Treehouse.
that's the thing. And I feel like anytime we've covered a topic like broad, we always like if we have a follow-up episode on a specific topic, it's because we've done a broad discussion first, right? Like we've done pro wrestling and then we had a specific episode on WrestleMania, right? Or
Yep.
we
did the animated Ghostbusters, and then we did the top 10 episodes of the animated Ghostbusters.
Exactly. See, so I feel like we couldn't do a Treehouse of Horror episodes that I really wanted to do until we had this discussion first about Simpsons and just get it all out there. And I'm going to be honest with you, Lou. You're going to drive. I've said this so many times to you at this point. You're going to drive this conversation because I did not watch a lot of Simpsons growing up. Not because I wasn't allowed to, but I think just because it came on later than I was usually allowed to stay up when it was like in its primetime slot.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't really watch it then. And no one in my house really watched it. So I didn't have anyone to like show me episodes. But again, much like Star Wars, much like Power Rangers, like I don't actually know this about you, so I want to talk about what got you into The Simpsons. I'd be curious if it was, it's a similar story to, anyone listening to the show, maybe how they got into it as well. So why don't we start there? Because the show came out pretty much when I was born, like around when you were born or very young,
Yep.
like 87, I think, right? Was when it came out, or 88?
It was on the Tracy Ullman show. It started as like it looked
like
up
an animated short.
Yeah, and those sketches were really, really rough looking. As you know, something that wasn't really meant to last. You know, it was.
Well,
just
that's the
very
thing.
crude.
It wasn't supposed to be. If they had known that it was going to still be around over 30 years later, maybe they would have put more polish into it. But
yeah, if anything, it's technically the Simpsons are from the Tracy Ullman show. It literally started as a short. It would be like something on SNL having a skit and making it its own show, essentially.
Yeah,
kind of. But I grew up watching it very little also. I think me and you were in the age group that it was on probably around bedtime when you're, 4 or 5 years old.
Yep.
This sounds silly now, but at the time it was a little,
it was racy for us. I wouldn't show my kids now Simpsons at this age, 8 and 5. I would not show them The Simpsons right now.
I could, okay, yeah, I could see it. There's certain episodes that would have nothing wrong with them, and there's some that certainly could. The Itchy and Scratchy stuff, I think, was probably the big reason why my parents didn't want me to watch it.
Yeah, well, and there's just, there's a lot of there's not a lot of cursing in the show, but there's definitely some. And I guess at that point that probably wouldn't concern me. But I don't know. You tell me. Was there a lot of sexual stuff in the show? Because I didn't watch it enough to know. Okay.
No, not really. It was, I think it was the Itchy and Scratchy stuff. I remember watching an episode when I was a kid, and Bart was dating a girl, and she literally went in, and ripped his heart out. Oh my god, that's crazy.
Yeah,
not really bad stuff. It was, but things we're talking, almost 30 years ago at this point, or more than 30 years ago. Excuse me. It was different than watching, a regular cartoon show. But on the flip side, I'm pretty sure Ninja Turtles were more violent than The Simpsons.
Sure, yeah,
it was. It was just the way it was portrayed.
Right. Yeah. Well, same thing with Power Rangers or any of those kids shows where there was, a lot of violence. You know what I mean? I think that the big difference again is there maybe was more, mature implications with The Simpsons, because it was a show technically for adults. You know what I mean? Younger adults. That was the target audience. You think of shows like South Park or Family Guy that would not exist without The Simpsons being successful.
Absolutely.
Now, let me ask you this. Because I also feel that shows like The Simpsons couldn't be successful had you not had shows from a few decades prior with the Flintstones and the Jetsons, which obviously were much more tame, but geared toward an older audience. Do you feel that The Simpsons wouldn't have been successful as a sitcom family show without those first?
I think it was just the evolution. If you look at it, you go from the Flintstones, which didn't have anything controversial, but, just the way it was. If you read between the lines of Fred and Wilma, and Fred didn't want to go to work and punching in and this and that, the kid's just going to look at it oh, he doesn't want to go to work. Haha, I don't want to go to school. But as an adult, you go, yeah, I get you, Fred. I don't want to do that either.
Yeah.
It's just a natural progression. So they were what they were, and then came The Simpsons, and then came, Family Guy and South Park. And, it just continues to change and to morph and, more sexual, more risque, more down to earth, more adult orientated. It's just a natural progression. But The Simpsons is still the one that stood the test of time. But I didn't watch it a lot as a kid. I really in middle school. I didn't watch it. I played the games here and there. I remember renting them, which I'm sure we'll get to that in a little bit.
Yeah,
but the first friend I made in high school, he was into The Simpsons, and I'm still friends with him now. You saw him at my wedding, Kevin. Shout out to Kevin, who's known me for 23 years. Poor schmuck. He loved The Simpsons. So I was the wrestling guy. He was the Simpsons guy. And we were kind of flip-flopped. He liked them, and he loved The Simpsons, liked wrestling. I loved wrestling, liked The Simpsons, and we kind of, through our friendship, got more into what each other liked. And I just remember towards the end of high school, I really liked watching them. And then it really changed when they came out on DVD. When they started when the DVD boom really happened. God, we were probably right before college. We went into college, so 2003 or 4. And
it was before streaming. So, it's not
all the TV shows were coming out on DVD, so you didn't have to kind of try to find them on the channel, or you're watching them out of order. Like, oh, there's back-to-back Simpsons episodes. All right, season 5 and then season 13. Like, okay.
So let me ask you, for a show like The Simpsons, where I personally feel like every episode is kind of standalone, like, would something like that throw you off as somebody who knows the show?
No, not really.
Okay.
Not really. Very few episodes will. You know,
Okay.
if there's an episode that really has big character development, and it's not going to be any character development for a major character. It's more of a minor character, like Apu
Gotcha.
gets married. So if you're watching an episode where it's just Apu at the Quickie Mart, and then you skip ahead 5 seasons and Apu's got 8 kids, like, what the hell just happened?
Gotcha.
That's all in one episode. Or Milhouse's parents get divorced. That's in one episode. So nothing with the main characters, because I don't know if you know this, they never age. But
Yeah.
what their secret is to youth. Not really. More of just almost like a completionist. Like, I want to invest time into watching this show. Not like Seinfeld or The Office or something like that, where it's like, yes, something can happen because characters are changing, they're getting married, or somebody gets written off, or whatever the circumstances are.
Yeah.
With The Simpsons, not really, but if you're just and also the other thing is the animation changes. It goes from crude to classic cartoon to CGI now.
Yes.
So jumping back and forth for younger folks might be CGI to, holy crap, what is that?
Yeah.
Even I
It's
do that now
jarring.
when I watch old episodes. I'm like, woof.
Well, not only just the animation, but even like the character voices, you can hear how they kind of change over the years too. Like, I remember I was watching clips just to try to a little bit gear up for this, just like Homer talking to Marge or whatever, and just hearing Homer's voice change from what it used to be to what it is. Now, I feel like it hasn't probably changed much in the last 20 years or even 25 years.
Marge's voice has changed.
Has it? Okay.
Yeah. Well, you figure that type of voice that she's doing is very, graspy and,
It wears on you. Yeah.
it's going to wear on her voice box. And I don't
Yeah.
watch them regularly now, but I have watched scenes and I'm like, woof, you could tell her voice has changed. And also, just the sheer amount of voices each person does for each character it's amazing. Absolutely amazing. Like, I've read recently, like, all the voices that these characters, these individuals, these voiceover artists will do is absolutely insane. Except for Lisa. Whoever voices Lisa only does Lisa, apparently.
It's just Lisa?
Just Lisa.
See, and I know her, actually. There's a movie that came out in the 80s called City Slickers. Did you ever see that movie?
No, but I definitely know it.
So it's Billy Crystal, Daniel Stern, Jack Palance is in it. Basically, these city guys go out to the Wild West to do like a midlife crisis vacation and try to work on a dude ranch. Anyway, long story short, one of the side characters, very minor character that one of the main characters had an affair with, is played by Lisa Simpson's voice actress.
Well, I'm going to mention something I thought I would never mention on this show. I'll get it out of the way. My wife will like this. Bart, the voice of Bart, obviously, is a woman. I think everybody knows
Nancy
that.
Cartwright. Yeah.
She voiced a My Little Pony. See? Honey, I got it in there. I mentioned a My Little Pony. I don't know which one it was. She was watching one of the old episodes. Like, I know that voice. That's Bart. She's like, no, it's a woman. I go, well. And I filled her in that Bart's actually voiced by a woman. So,
I mean, you'd think 30 years later, sounding basically the same would have given her that clue, but I guess not.
no, not so much.
No, not so much. And it is fun because, like you said, you can kind of go back. So let me ask you this again. As somebody who's never watched it, it's on Disney Plus. I have a Disney Plus subscription. There's a metric shit ton of episodes that I'd have to go through.
Lot.
Is it worth me starting from the beginning and just going through them?
I think you should at least watch at least watch part of season 1. Just see where it started and how it started.
Because what I want to watch too is, you always hear, and it's a perfect segue, I don't know if you're setting me up for it or not, but the golden years of Simpson. Now there's some disparity between the range of years, but in general, somewhere between seasons like 2 and 10 are considered like the best The Simpsons ever was and probably ever will be, to coin Bret Hart's phrase.
Who was on The Simpsons?
I knew he was on The Simpsons.
And
I thought
that
so,
episode
yes.
came on today. Before we get into that, Disney Plus for things like The Simpsons or any show that they had that streams with a lot of episodes.
Yeah.
Not like the Star Wars things. Like I just finished watching the Ahsoka season. There's only 8 episodes or 10 episodes.
Right.
Or The Mandalorian, there's only like 16 or so. Simpsons, there's hundreds and hundreds of episodes.
Yeah.
Give me a shuffle button. Just pick a random episode.
But wouldn't that throw you off? Because you said during when you're watching it on TV is jarring.
But
because
now I've caught up.
I got you.
I know
Okay.
what's going on for the most part.
So have you seen every single episode of The
No,
Simpsons at
God,
this
no.
point?
There's no way.
Okay.
There's no way. Now, as you said, the golden years, which is subject to a lot of debates in a good way, I feel the golden years that I enjoy, my golden years for The Simpsons, is season 5 through 15.
Okay.
So those 10 seasons I feel are the most enjoyable for me.
So, okay. This is a two-part question then, because we talk about what are the golden years, but what about these seasons are what makes them the golden years that make them better than the other seasons? Like, because I haven't watched enough, because people say The Simpsons used to be good. That's like a common thing people say. The Simpsons kind of sucks now. I have no idea why, because again, I have not watched
after
enough.
30 years, it's gonna
Sure.
be bad. They're gonna run
But
out.
what makes them so good in the golden years?
So the first thing is the animation got better.
Okay.
The animation, it sounds silly, but it is rough. The animation, I think, gets good around season 3 or season 4.
Okay.
So it does make it a little bit more enjoyable. The characters' voices steadily become what we, in our brains, even not as a Simpsons fan, but just growing up in the 90s and 2000s, you know what Homer sounds like.
Right.
You know the classic Homer voice and Marge. So it's the right voices are there. The side characters have developed by then. So you have the minor character. You have I say a side character like Moe or Mr. Burns, and then you have another tier down with Smithers and Lenny and Carl. All everybody's been established during the golden years.
Gotcha.
So you know who everybody is. You feel like every character knows who they are also. It sounds stupid because it's a cartoon.
Yeah.
But everybody's kind of set now.
So I was going to say, so I remember one episode, and I'm seeing, as we're talking, I'm remembering bits and pieces of episodes that I have seen that I forgot I saw.
Okay.
There's one part of an episode I remember seeing where they introduce Ned Flanders, right? And
Okay.
I thought, oh, this is a new character on The Simpsons. When did he come into play? Do you remember what season that would have been?
Jeez, I think he's in season 1.
Oh, wow. So he wouldn't have been
right
okay.
away. I think he is.
I'd have to look it up.
From whenever I've been watching, Flanders has always been there. And they killed off his wife.
Yeah, right.
But that's if you jumped around, you would say Ned's his wife's guy. Like, well, what the hell happened?
Gotcha. Yeah.
Do you want me to spoil it for you? Do you know how she passes away?
I don't know. I mean, you're welcome to tell me.
So, the Simpsons and the Flanders are at a NASCAR event, and they're in the bleachers, and they're shooting T-shirts, and Homer wants a T-shirt, so he gets up and he's dancing on the bleachers, and the Flanders are behind them at the very top, and Homer sees a bobby pin. I don't know why.
Okay.
He sees a bobby pin, and he bends down as they shoot the T-shirt. It hits Maude, and she falls to her death because Homer saw a bobby pin.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. What a way to go, right?
Is that Golden Age Simpsons right there?
Yeah, I think that is. I want to say that's season 9 or 10 off the top of my head.
So she's been gone longer than she was around.
Yeah, she's been gone for a while. She's been gone a long time.
All right. So, the characters are established. The voices are what you know them as. The animation's good.
Mhm.
Let's talk about the stories in general. Are they
Sure.
funnier stories back then? Is that part of it too?
I think they were. There's episodes that in the beginning were geared more towards Bart being the main character, and then as time goes on, I feel when they got into the golden era is more of Homer as the main star of the show.
And I feel like that's funny you mention that, because again, back in our childhood, Bart Simpson was he was up there, maybe not to the level of Mickey Mouse or Super Mario, but my God, he was close, if not. You know what I'm saying? He was a household character. And I feel like Bart Simpson has not been front and center for a long time now. Now, The Simpsons in general, I feel, is just not really front and center anymore anyway. But so you're saying you believe that, like, over the last 20 to 25 years, Homer Simpson has been, like, the center point of that show as far as most of the stories and things like that?
Do you remember the DVD cover art or the poster art for the movie?
I do. Well, the poster for the movie was, like, just him holding a donut, right?
Yeah, it's just Homer.
It's
Bart
Homer.
wasn't.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so
There you
you're
go.
right. Bart wasn't the main. That's true. That's a good point, actually.
And all the
That's a
video
really good point.
games, I would say any video game post Super Nintendo, Homer was on the cover.
That's true. That's a very good point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Simpsons Road
All right.
Rage, Simpsons Hit and Run, Simpsons
Wrestling.
the movie, the video game, the Simpsons Wrestling, all had Homer on the cover.
Okay.
So
That's a
I
good
feel
point.
like that was the transition, was from Bart to Homer, just coincides with the golden era.
Yeah.
Because the characters are so fleshed out now, not just the Simpsons themselves, the other characters, there's more interaction. So there's better stories. Like, there's episodes that are just about Chief Wiggum. There's episodes about Moe. There's episodes about Mr. Burns, which you couldn't have in the first couple of seasons because they weren't fleshed out yet.
Gotcha. Like,
And it was new and refreshing. Yeah, you didn't know
Yeah.
them yet. And it was new and it was refreshing. After 30 years, there's going to be things that are repetitive. It's inevitable for any show. I couldn't imagine trying to write a show for 30 years. That's insane.
And because that's the thing is, you keep mentioning the golden age is because things were finally evolved, but now we're past that. What is it about more modern seasons that people are hating then? Is it just because the stories are the same again and again?
Yeah.
I've heard one thing is, like, the way they're handling some of the characters now is not how they would have handled them during the golden years. Like Homer Simpson kind of being the perfect example of, he's just not portrayed. He's basically portrayed as borderline mentally challenged now versus back in the day when he was somewhat competent. I don't know, because again,
Depends
what
on
are
the
your
episode.
thoughts?
Depends
I
on the
gotcha.
episode. Sometimes Homer is. There are a few episodes where Homer is just an asshole.
Yeah.
He's just an asshole. Some of the more famous episodes are Homer just being a complete idiot and a jerk. It varies, but again, you're gonna run out of things.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the way they portrayed Lisa in the beginning was she was just a smarty pants, and then she becomes kind of some would consider maybe annoying because she's a vegetarian, she's a Buddhist, she's this, she's that, she protests. It's like, oh my God, but that's the characters. She evolved.
Yeah.
She evolved without being able to evolve. She has to stay, what is she, 8? Bart's 10?
I think so, yeah.
So there's not much you can do by keeping her at 8 years old for the entire series, unless you have like those random episodes where it's like she's in the future and the president, which they predicted who she replaced. That could be a whole episode about what Simpsons predicting things, right?
That's right, because they always say, like, isn't that like a meme now? Like, the Simpsons did it first or whatever.
Yeah, well, they predicted that Lisa was going to be president, and so was Donald Trump. Not going into politics, but they literally predicted Donald Trump was going to be president.
Yeah. Well, I guess, again, if you're around for over 30 years, you're bound to predict something sooner or later,
Yeah. That's some crazy stuff.
Yeah.
I can understand why people don't find it as enjoyable, but here's the thing. Looking through nostalgia, it's not going to be the same, man. We're wrestling fans. It's not the same.
Nope.
We watch WWE or anything right now. Well, he's wrestling now, but man, back in the day, he was better.
Yeah.
That's just the way it is. You watch John Cena right now, he's not the same guy he was 20 years ago.
But I think that's the problem, though, is that something like that, you could make that argument, whereas now the Simpsons are like, well, they haven't changed in 30 years, and is that the problem? So let me ask you this. Do you think the Simpsons would be better? It's not going anywhere anytime soon, or maybe who knows? Maybe they're at the end. I have no idea. But
I think it's a year-to-year contract they're doing now, or every 2 years. It's not like they've signed a 5-year deal. It's like a year or two they're signing up for.
But had they aged these characters and had real change for the setting and the characters and the story, where, let's say, we are in real time where now Bart and Lisa are middle-aged, and have families of their own, would that be as appealing, or do you think part of the appeal is that they literally stay the same every single year?
Listen, when they decide that it's time to end this run, which, like you said, it's been 30 plus years at this point. When is it going to end? Is it ever going to end? I mean, eventually it has to end. It will end.
Right.
Do they? I mean, they've done crappier reboots for crappier shows. So them rebooting it and basically moving the generation up, where Homer and Marge are now the grandparents, and Bart and Lisa have families with their own kids, and they get to see how Homer's rubbed up on Bart. I mean, it kind of writes itself.
It does.
It does. It writes itself. And was Ralph the police chief now? That would be insane.
God, I would hope not. Yeah.
It's why not? It would give a fresh coat of paint.
Yeah.
On things.
Or like a spin-off, or like I feel like a lot of shows have spin-offs.
They were gonna do a spin-off, but they opted not to do an Apu show.
Oh, okay. Because I know there was a lot of controversy with that a few years ago. Is that when they were talking about it?
Yes.
Okay.
They were going to do an Apu show, which I thought it would have been great.
Yeah.
I like the character.
But I guess the problem is, if you're setting it in Springfield and it's going to feature all the same characters from The Simpsons, is it even a spin-off? Like, what's the difference?
No, it's a sequel.
But if it's got all the same characters, what makes it a sequel?
Because I would assume if it's a sequel, if it's in the same place and it's the same characters just growing up a little bit, it's a sequel.
Well, and that's what I'm saying. So like we're talking like about the Apu spinoff though. That likely wouldn't have been the case. So like
I think Apu was moving away from Springfield. That was the thing.
Gotcha. Okay, so wherever he would have moved, it would have been set there. See, something like that I feel like could work, or you know what I mean? I feel like the Groening verse, right? I don't know, we'll call it that.
Sure.
Like, because you've got all these shows now that are kind of animated in the same style. Like you've got Futurama, you've got there's one on Netflix, Disenchanted, I think it's called, and it's literally. Have you seen that, by the way? Disenchanted on Netflix.
I have not.
Okay, so I've heard it's actually pretty good. It's the animated the same style as The Simpsons and Futurama, you know, that distinct, you know, facial features and whatnot. I feel like you've almost got this multiverse where you could. Did they ever do a Simpsons and Futurama crossover?
They did a Simpsons Family Guy crossover.
I knew about that, yes. And then they did a South Park Family Guy Simpsons crossover, if I recall correctly.
Maybe they did.
I think they did that too. But I'm just trying to, like, I feel like there is opportunity there to have a multiverse, not a multiverse, but like a universe where you've got different places all set in the same kind of general dimension. I don't know what you call it at that point, but anyway. So, all right, we talked about the golden years. Are there any? Okay, before we get into like the video games, because I feel like that we want to cover those pretty succinctly. Favorite character, favorite episode.
Just one of each? Because, oh, man, that's really hard.
All right, that's fair. Okay, how about this?
I can give you my favorite character of the family.
Of the family?
Yeah.
Give me a Simpsons family character and give me a side character.
Okay, so my favorite Simpsons character of the family is Homer.
Okay,
I think that's a lot of people are going to say Homer.
Yes.
My favorite side character, I got two that came to mind.
Okay.
And I know you said one, but considering how many there are,
I will let you have two. Absolutely.
Mo.
Okay, of course. Yeah.
And Mr. Burns.
Yeah, absolutely.
Those are my two, and just the way Mo like pronounces things sometimes.
Yeah.
Like, my customers are starting to sober up. They're going to stick around for the ambience, something like that. Just the way he speaks. Yeah, it's hysterical. Mr. Burns is hysterical too. There's so many.
There's too many. That's fair.
There's so many funny moments. There's so many funny moments. There's so many quotes.
Yeah,
it's impossible to pick.
So how about this? Let's go the opposite direction. Are there any characters that you are like, this character's stupid, they suck, they shouldn't have been introduced, they're pointless, they do nothing for the show? Can you think of anyone like that, or do you feel like everyone has been used that's been introduced as far as recurring characters?
I never really liked the Sideshow Bob thing.
Okay.
The dude that's always trying to kill Bart. Like,
yeah.
I get it. It was a funny couple of episodes, and he came back. Any characters I really don't like? Not really.
So, like
the
what about like the comic book shop guy?
Oh, he's funny, but he's only like he'll just give a line or two, and that's really about it. I like Apu.
Yeah.
I like the barflies, Lenny, Carl, and Barney. They're always funny.
Yep.
Smithers always having his crush on Mr. Burns and stuff like that. And, I mean, there's also some things that you can't, they did back in the day that you probably couldn't do now.
Yeah.
Because Smithers is, I believe they actually did in the more recent years have Smithers either get a boyfriend or get married to a partner.
Okay.
Which is cool. Something like that shows the evolution of
Sure, yeah, absolutely.
Show. But, back when it was a little bit more taboo, and Mr. Burns goes, "Oh, Smithers, what are you doing this weekend? Something gay, I hope." He's like, "What?" It's like, something happy. A gay old time. Stuff like that. You're like, "Oh."
Yeah.
Didn't really age that well. But to me, that's part of the charm, though. It shows that the show's been around for a really long time.
Yeah.
I don't have any characters that they say, okay, if I had to, out of a main character, I would actually say it's Lisa.
Yeah? Not...
If I had out of the 4 main family members, Homer, Marge, Bart, and Lisa, if you said to me, what character did you find an episode dedicated to them least entertaining, it would probably be Lisa.
Okay. All right. That's fair. And you mentioned that like a lot of people found her really annoying. Like
that's her character. People find Homer annoying too, so.
That's fair. That's a good point. Yeah. Okay. All right. Good stuff. Yeah, man, there's just like I said, I as we're talking, I'm remembering more and more bits and pieces of different, like for example, I remember an episode where Homer wants to go on disability, so he gets really fat.
Oh, king-sized Homer. Yeah.
And then he gets stuck in the water slide.
Yes, he gets stuck. He's got a big moo-moo on.
Yes. It's like blue with pink flowers, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
And he's weighing, like you have a reverse montage where he's just eating and eating and eating and then weighing in, right? I think that's something like that happens.
That's a classic episode. I mean,
I guess I'm remembering the Golden Years episodes because, there's a couple before we started recording that I'm like, I remember this one. Like, oh yeah, that was one of their earlier seasons. So I guess all the ones that I'm remembering are from the prime years.
What about the New York City episode?
Nope, never watched that.
Wow, that was the episode I literally just watched before he came on.
Okay,
so I believe it's season 9, episode 1. A lot of people like that. At post 9/11, it was not on TV anymore. Because there's a lot of scenes with the Twin Towers.
Oh, yeah.
Homer's car is outside Twin Towers, and he's running up and down them. But it's a very funny... Again, I'm trying to not be... trying to be impartial as the New Yorker, but, man, they got the spirit of New York in that episode.
Yeah.
It's really good. There's just so many.
There's so many good ones.
So many good ones. The Pin Pals episode. I'm just rattling off some that... you probably don't know, but our viewers, listeners might say, oh, yeah, I like that episode, the Pin Pals episode, where Homer starts a bowling team with Apu, Mo, and Mr. Burns, and Otto. That's a random character, Otto the bus driver.
I like Otto, though.
Otto's cool. Yep,
yeah.
Otto's cool. The ones I watched, I was trying to go through the Golden Years and just look at episodes off the top of my head that I liked. The Prohibition one, where Homer is... taking booze and putting them in bowling balls, and they're going to Moe's Tavern is great. But it's the quotes, it's the one-liners, and the thing is, as an adult, so my wife didn't like The Simpsons growing up.
Okay,
we watch them now as adults, and seeing Homer and Marge just trying to live life.
Yeah,
it's more hysterical now as an adult, because in that episode, this is a line that most husbands will like. So Homer has the bowling balls. They fall over, and she could see their... No, I'm sorry. Backing up. He has the bowling balls in his hand, like multiple.
Yeah.
And Marge goes, Homer, where are you going with all those bowling balls? And he looks and goes, Marge, I don't want to lie to you. And he just walks away. So it's true. He doesn't want to lie to her. He just Marge, I don't want to lie to you. And he just walks away. That's... As a kid, you don't really get it. As an adult and as a husband, you go... Shit, that's really fucking good. Sorry, might want to blank that out. That's really good. Yeah. I don't want to lie to you. It just walks away. It's stupid shit like that. As an adult, you get it now.
Yeah.
There's so many. Another one I like, and I'll end with this is, and it's, again, small quotes that are funny as an adult, especially in this world right now. There's an episode where Mr. Burns starts glowing green. They think he's an alien. And they're all waiting around for him to come out, and he goes, I bring you love. And they turn around like, oh, it brings us love. Break its legs. That's kind of like our mob mentality now in this world.
Yeah.
And they, oh, it's not an alien, it's Mr. Burns. Like, oh, it's Mr. Burns. Kill him. So it's funny stuff. Those are just some episodes that jump in my head. And of course, the classic Mr. Plow episode that everybody likes, except for Dan.
Except for me, who's never seen Mr. Plow.
All right, so your homework assignment is Mr. Plow.
Okay.
Four episodes. Mr. Plow.
Okay.
The Homer versus the 18th Amendment, a.k.a. Prohibition. The Mr. Burns alien episode, and the New York City episode. 4 episodes. Will take you about an hour and a half.
All right. Yeah, I will report back after watching those. So let me ask you this too. This is more just this is diving into the world of Lou Carnivale here. I know for a fact that your nickname for your dad was Homer. And it wasn't just you. Like it was your mom called him Homer. Like just you called him Homer. So I think I probably called him Homer a couple of times. Is that from? I'm assuming that's from The Simpsons.
Yeah, there was an episode that Homer Simpson was eating donuts, and he forgot about something. He's like, "Oh, you ate them?" Like, "No, you ate them, Dad." And literally, my dad the next day, not trying to be funny, did that. Who ate these? You did. No, I didn't. Yes, you did. Homer. And it just kind of stuck.
So he just was Homer.
He was Homer from there. Yep.
I love it. That's amazing.
He did not choke me. He did not.
He didn't. Well, no, he didn't choke you.
No,
that's good. Well, all right. So there's 2 ways we can go with this discussion next, and I want to cover both. So you tell me. You want to talk about the movie next, or you want to talk about the video games next?
Why don't we do the movie next? Okay. Because that way we can kind of end what we've seen on the TV, and then we can go into some of the video games. And I know you saw the movie, so you can. I did, yeah. Now
I haven't seen it since the theaters, so I probably can't offer much. But let's talk about it, because when the movie came out, this was 20 years into the show, I guess, almost ish.
I would say so, because it came out in 07.
07, and the show was, I think, 87. So yeah, 20 years, we'll say, give or take. Do you feel like that was supposed to be the penultimate, like that's wrapping up The Simpsons? Because it certainly felt like that to me. Like, oh, this show has been going on forever. They finally get a movie. This is it. This is going to cap things off.
No, I didn't feel like that was going to be the grand finale. Now I think it might be the grand finale. Because
they haven't done another movie since. Like, it's almost been longer. Like, no, I guess not, because it was 20 years and it's been 16 since the movie came out. But like in general, like, there's not even been discussions of another Simpsons movie as far as I know.
No. And now it'll probably just be on Disney Plus, so.
Yeah, it wouldn't be a theatrical release at this point.
But if you think about it, what else is of that genre? I mean, South Park did it, but they only did one.
Yeah, right? That's true. And they're still going. So that's a good point.
Yeah, and Family Guy's never done one.
Yeah. No, that's yeah. Hell, even Bob's Burgers got a theatrical release, and I've never even seen Bob's Burgers.
Yeah, I've watched maybe a handful of episodes. All right.
Yeah. But I remember when The Simpsons, like, I remember the poster, like we talked about, it was just Homer's hand holding up a donut. Yeah. And you knew it was Homer's hand because of the shape of it and everything like that. Like, it was a big, like, that was, people were hyped for this movie, I remember. Mm-hmm. Like, it was a big deal, you know? And I don't, again, because I wasn't a super fan of The Simpsons, but I knew I was going to go see the movie. I for some reason, I thought we had seen it together because we were hanging out all the time back then. But I think you corrected me. You saw it with your family. I probably saw it with my brother or something like that. But again, it was like a big, so like, tell me about that, because like I'm assuming when you knew that was coming out, you were like, I'm going to see this. Like,
yeah, it was exciting, and I think people got psyched about it because it was nostalgia. Yeah. You're in 20 seasons in, 20 years into it. If you had watched the first 10 years and stopped watching it, but it's different, it's a movie. Well, I'm interested. What are they going to do?
Yeah.
A lot of people probably went, are they going to reveal what Springfield is?
They sort of did, by the way. Do you remember the whole thing they did? They did like a radio competition around that.
Well, just from being in radio, we have an idea of where they're on the West Coast, because anything west of the Mississippi has a K.
That's true, except there are a few exceptions, by the way. But actually, no, they put it to a vote, and the winner, what? Do you know where Springfield is officially?
Oregon.
Nope, it is Springfield, Vermont.
Is it, though?
That's according to a vote. Like, the people voted, and Springfield, Vermont was what they decided on.
I'm not sure if I agree with that. To be determined. I thought it was in
Okay.
Oregon because I thought Matt Groening was from Oregon.
Well, it's certainly. I mean, if you look at like a lot of the scenes outside of Springfield, it definitely has that Pacific Northwest vibe. I feel like they got the mountains and the But you could also argue that for
Vermont.
where we lived in upstate New York, Vermont. So you may have to look that up. I don't know because I feel like they did that and then they converted one of the gas stations to a Quickie Mart. That was part of
That's
the competition,
awesome.
the contest. Yeah, it was pretty cool. I think they even had a contest around like if you won it, like they would convert your house to the Simpsons house, or you could live in a
jeez.
Simpsons house. Yeah.
That's crazy.
So anyway,
I didn't even think about this till you posed the question of where you're excited to go. I think the movie was to get those Laps fans back.
Yeah.
To show them what's going on, or it hasn't changed too much, or there is a little bit of a change to kind of spark the franchise a little bit.
So do you feel like even back then, 16 years ago, the show felt stale? Were you still watching it at the time?
Yeah. Then I was still watching on a semi-regular basis. When we were in college, I wouldn't go out of my way to watch it. I can understand maybe people that were a little bit older than us.
Yeah.
That watched the first couple of seasons, and then they, life happens. Kind of like how me and you are with wrestling.
Yeah.
We were avid wrestling fans in high school and college and post-college, but then life happens. Work and family and this and that. We don't dislike wrestling, but we're certainly not in tune with what's going on a week-to-week basis. We know who the world champion is right now.
Right.
For the last 3 years.
Yeah.
I know Roman Reigns is the champion, but I'm not watching it on a weekly basis. And that, to me, is what The Simpsons may have done was, hey, you watched, we're around, but let's get you a little excited. Something different. Not a primetime, well, they're on primetime, but not a 2-hour primetime debut or something like that, or season premiere, a movie. And the movie itself was, it was all right. I thought I
liked it. I didn't think it was bad,
No, it wasn't bad, but it wasn't. There's a hell of a lot more episodes that are everything I just mentioned was to me better than the movie, but it was what it was. It was fun. I've watched it maybe 2 or 3 times since that. They tried to get as many cameos. It is fun just trying to find all the like really obscure characters, like during that mob scene where they're coming at them with the pitchforks and stuff like that. There's just so many characters in that scene. You gotta try to point out.
It's like a Where's Waldo type of deal.
Exactly. There's some funny stuff in there, but I think maybe they would do another movie.
Yeah,
get some last juice out of it. Why not?
Okay. Yeah. So this one just called The Simpsons Movie.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even remember the plot. I'm gonna be honest with you because I haven't seen it since
they were in
the
dome.
They were in the dome. Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
It was
Dome Depot.
Like they quarantine him or something, right? Or
what is basically, they predicted COVID.
There it is. Yeah, that's something
kind
like
of.
That. And then,
well, they did. They had the Osaka flu or something like that.
Yeah.
So I mean, they
they predict everything.
Yeah.
I remember Arnold Schwarzenegger was president, right? That was the big thing.
Yep.
That was the joke.
You could say the quote. Dan Vorbeck, who is a semi recurring co-host on here. This is his favorite line. So you can go ahead and say it.
Well, my in fact, I'll shout out my brother-in-law Mateo as well because he says this all the time too. And
okay.
I'm gonna paraphrase because I don't remember the exact quote, but I believe it was something like, "I was elected to this country to lead, not to read."
I picked number 3, option 3, and option 3 was to put the dome on Springfield.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. I remember there's one thing I remember from that movie that stands out, and it was like it got applause in the theaters when I saw it.
May I guess?
You can guess.
Is it when Homer gets stuck in the quicksand and he starts flipping off everybody?
No. But that's
okay.
a good guess.
That is great there because he starts flipping off everybody's going down the quicksand.
It's a scene where somebody is holding a ball and they're holding onto it, and all of a sudden you hear Marge and several other people go, "Throw the goddamn ball!"
Oh,
and it was such
bomb,
a big deal.
The bomb,
or the bomb, not the ball. It was the bomb. But it was a big deal because they're like, "Oh, they swore,"
and Marge out of all, somebody throw the goddamn
bomb. Yeah, so that's a line.
Because Marge was.
She was kind of prim and proper.
Oh, the other thing was Otto. And that right after that, because he's always been a stoner, but they can't show it.
Right.
They
So
showed him smoking a bong. Somebody throw the goddamn bomb, and Otto's sitting there with the smoking his bong. What's going on?
Oh, good stuff.
It is. It's great.
Yeah. I do. Yeah. I always talk about like I should just go watch Simpsons, because again, I know it's one of those where you have to commit because there are so many episodes. Like, I could cherry pick some, but I feel like I would want to do that one justice and just go through them. You know what I mean? I feel like I would be dreaming in yellow at that point, and everyone would be yellow in my dreams if I just watched enough of it. But it would be probably worth it. Because you ever have that where like you binge a show and all of a sudden all your dreams are about that show?
Not a show.
Like a video game?
When the Twisted Metal show came out, I started to play the video games. Oh, God. Oh, man. I was seeing crap in my dreams. Oh, man. And it came out in the summertime, and there was ice cream trucks. And you just hear, like, the jingle. Like, oh, God. No.
Twisted Metal.
Yeah. The serial killer clown coming after me. I get him. I don't get him with shows. I get him with video games.
That's fair. Okay. I think I have with video games, too, for sure.
And then
like
driving. So imagine watching Twisted Metal, then playing Twisted Metal. Like, you want to go to the store?
Yeah.
You want me to drive? No, you don't want me to. Well, there's a segue. How about this?
Yeah.
One of the best Simpsons games they ever made was Simpsons Hit and Run.
Yes.
Have you ever played that?
I have not. My brother has, and he recommends it. It was on Xbox. I think he played it on.
It was that.
Xbox.
It was that era. PS2, original Xbox game.
Yes. Now, before we get to those, though, I want to go in chronological order. I feel like we have to.
Sure.
With the Simpsons games.
Okay.
So
I didn't give you a full segue, just a part.
No, it was good. It was like let's talk.
I tried my best.
That was great. You did good.
That's why I earned my degree. I'm finally using it from college.
Hell yeah, man. Same
Great.
here. So, video games, Simpsons, right? There's been so many over the years. I mean, the show's been around 30 years. It's inevitable. What's the first Simpsons game you ever played?
So the first one I ever played, I don't remember the name of it because I didn't research it because we just go off the tip of our tongue.
We came on this podcast to lead, not to read.
Exactly. I did not read. I just want to lead. So the first one I remember. Yeah, thanks, Ray. That's a Ghostbuster quote, folks.
Yeah.
The first one I remember was on Super Nintendo, and it's like a bunch of mini games. And I
was
remember
it Bart's Nightmare, where he's going around and you're getting the papers. You got to collect the papers, and then you jump into these mini worlds.
No, it was a bunch of mini games, and the one I remember the most, you're playing as Bart, and you're in front of the school, and like you had to throw the tomatoes at people. And Skinner would walk back and forth, and he would bend down and stuff like that. I have no idea what it is. We should probably look it up as somebody else is
I'm looking
talking.
it up now, so keep talking. Yeah, keep talking.
I remember playing that. That's the only one I remember playing back
Was
in
it
the
Virtual
day.
Bart? No. Let's see.
Maybe.
Hold on. It's not, and so it's not Bart's Nightmare, because that's the first one I ever played. But so in that one, so basically Bart falls asleep, and then in the dream, you're wandering around like trying to catch pieces of your term paper or whatever, and then every time you catch one, you have to do a mini game to keep it.
Maybe. I don't remember. I didn't play a lot of Simpsons games back in the day. I know they had one for the NES, and those were terrible.
Nope,
those
it's Virtual Bart,
any nerd.
because I just saw the mini.
It is Virtual Bart.
Yeah, it's Virtual Bart. So you had class picture. Here we go. This is the where he intends to ruin his school picture day by throwing tomatoes at all of his classmates.
Yes.
So that's it. And
that's it.
And then you had baby Bart, who follows a moving ice cream truck to escape his home and swings his way out of his home. Ends up in a circus. You have Dino Bart, where you're running across primitive Springfield and rampaging through mountains. You had Pig Bart, where you're apparently a pig. You got Mount Splashmore, where it's a water slide level. You got Doomsday Bart, which is like a motorcycle road rash type of level.
Oh my god!
So
it was just a bunch of mini games. That's how big they were. They weren't even real games. That was just a bunch of mini games.
It was.
Combined.
Same thing with Bart's Nightmare, though. That's the whole thing. And that's why I thought you meant that one, because there are mini games. Basically, you go through certain doors and you have to play mini games to earn the pages of your homework assignment to win the game. They were terrible.
They were.
Right? Like, okay, so I'm not alone. They sucked. They were terrible games.
Yeah, they were bad. And the ones on NES were bad.
Yes.
Those were terrible. The ones where you have to Bart saves the world, or Bart versus. Wasn't there one Bart saves
versus
the world?
Space Mutants, I think.
Yeah, where he has like deep purple objects and like spray paint them and put
Didn't they
towels
get like
over
an
them.
angry video game nerd review or something? I feel like that
That's what I'm
got
saying.
shit on.
Those games were so bad they would make any nerd angry. That was my joke there.
Sorry, I wasn't picking up on that.
It's okay.
I like that. And actually, I take it back because these were not the first Simpsons game I ever played.
Okay, what were the first ones? Did you play one on Game Boy?
No, it was the Simpsons arcade game.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Which to me is the greatest Simpsons video game I've ever played.
Okay. You haven't played Hit and Run, so that's...
I have not played any of the... I guess they're not newer ones because they're over 20 years old at this point, but I have not played any of the
disgusting.
3D era. Yeah. The only 3D Simpsons game I played...
How about no CD-based?
Well, and
Simpsons
that's not true
game?
because I have played one CD-based Simpsons game and it was such a piece of shit I played it one time.
The wrestling game?
The wrestling game.
Yeah, it was bad.
Terrible.
So the arcade game, I think everybody in the 90s at least saw it in the arcades.
Yeah.
Or in a Pizza Hut, because I remember seeing it in a Pizza Hut.
So for me, the first time I played it was at a place that you may have driven by where you know, up in Lake George, but you probably were too old to go there by the time you moved up there. It's called the Fun Spot. You ever heard of the Fun Spot?
I do.
It used to be called Skateland back in the day. It was just, it's a skating rink, but they had the arcade in the back.
When kids would go out and skate and actually do things.
And actually exercise, exactly.
Yep.
So the first time I ever played it was at that arcade. And it was the coolest ever. And every time I would pick the same, I would always pick Homer.
Everybody would pick Homer. It was the golden age of beat 'em ups.
It was, and it was made by the same people that made X-Men and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
And for some reason, that and X-Men were never ported to any console.
That's not true. Because, back in the day, I owned it on PS3.
Yes. And that was a limited time release.
Yes.
You can't download it now, but via emulation, I've played it.
And both of those games have since been released as little mini arcade cabinets from Arcade 1-Up that I really want to buy but cannot afford to buy.
And I can't justify because it's just one. Oh, no, there's
two.
The Simpsons game has two in the arcade. Do you know the other game?
Simpsons Bowling.
It's Simpsons Bowling. I did not know that existed till I went to Vegas. God, 2018. It was before COVID. And, trying to do something where I'm not losing money or not drinking alcohol and trying to recoup. And I found that there was like it's called was it the Pinball Hall of Fame? It was something with pinball. I'm like, all right, it's like literally 5 minutes away from where I was staying. And it was just like a sea of old school pinballs and old school arcade cabinets.
Yep.
And of course, the Simpsons game was there and Turtles in Time, all the classics. And the Simpsons bowling game was there. I'm like, this is fun because it actually had the wheel ball.
Oh, like the Golden Tee rolling. Yes. Yeah.
Another great arcade game. We could just do a whole episode of like actual arcade games.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It felt like Golden Tee, so it was based on that episode called The Pin Pals.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So it's that's how good that episode was. They made it into a video game.
Yeah.
So
was it a good game? I never played it. Was it good?
It was okay. It was
fine. It was bowling.
Golden. It was Golden Tee, but with bowling.
Simpsons characters. Yeah.
Wasn't
Okay. So, I don't
anything
know.
mind blowing. It was good, but for $300, I couldn't justify two arcade games.
So okay, going back to the other classic, like beat 'em up Simpsons game. Which one would you play if you had both of them in front of you? Would you play Turtles in Time or the Simpsons game?
Boy. So you're saying I can only get one arcade cabinet?
I feel like I know the answer if you can only get one. But I'm saying if you were just at a place that had both of them and you only have time to play one of them,
I would go to the Simpsons because
you would play the Simpsons.
Because Turtles in Time
is everywhere.
It's everywhere. I have it on Super Nintendo. You could play it via, you could download it or the remix version of it. It's more accessible. If I'm just going, if I don't have an emulator and I just walk into an arcade and I go, I have time for one game, they're right next to each other, I'm going to the Simpsons because it's not accessible. Really. Yes.
Yeah.
Without downloading it.
Right. Yeah. We don't condone that or promote that here on Generation.
No, we don't. No, we don't. No. Raspberry Pis are delicious, though.
Yes, I love Raspberry Pi. It's so good.
They're great.
So random. Anyway, so all right, let's then.
Wait, you didn't get that?
Of course, I got it, Lou.
Okay, you said it's so random. Like, well, you didn't get my other joke about it making a nerd angry.
No, I understand. Yes, no.
Okay,
I understand Raspberry Pi.
Yes, kids, if you want to look up Raspberry Pi video games when you're done, you'll know what we're talking about.
Yes, goes without saying. So let's pivot here. We've talked about kind of the classic 2D era Simpsons games. Let's transition to 3D. We already talked about a shitty one in the Simpsons Wrestling, but there were a lot of good ones as well, none of which I played, so I want you to tell me about your experience with those.
So COVID got me even more into the Simpsons because I was working from home and I could put on the Simpsons while I'm working.
That's right.
And I'm like, you know what? I never really played a good Simpsons game. So I do my research and I look up Simpsons Hit and Run, which I remember seeing when I was working on Hollywood Video back in the day, but I had never rented it because every Simpsons game sucked. It's essentially as close as it's not GTA in terms of like you're blowing up well, I guess you kind of can blow up buildings. It's Grand Theft Springfield.
Okay.
You can run around as characters, get in a car, find secret locations. It's a lot of racing, but you can explore on foot. It is kind of like a softer, milder version of GTA in terms of its open world, and you can run around and do whatever you want in Springfield. It's pretty cool. Is it the greatest game ever? No. To me, is it the best Simpsons game made? Yeah, I think universally, you're going to have more people agree that Simpsons Hit and Run is the best Simpsons game than you will have people agreeing about when the golden era is.
Okay, so it's definitively because there was another one that I feel like was a similar, but it was more like Crazy Taxi, where like your job was
Road Rage.
That was Road Rage. Okay,
yes.
Yeah, I heard that one came first, though I believe.
Yeah, Road Rage came first, and it's not a bad game. It's just Hit and Run is a better game.
There's more to it in Hit and Run, like because it's more like an open world, whereas Road Rage was more like literally like drive this person to this place, and it was Crazy Taxi.
And at the time, I didn't have a PS2 up and running.
Okay.
And my original Xbox was MIA. I only had my GameCube. And guess which system is the most expensive for, kids? It's the GameCube.
GameCube. Of course.
So GameCube is going to cost you, at least when I got it, $60, a full-price game. Not the end of the world, but for an old game, that's a lot of money.
Right.
If you can find it on PS2 or the original Xbox, it's probably going to be about $25.
That's not
so
bad.
You're not going to break the bank if you have one of those systems. You're not going to break the bank on it. The other game, I'm actually playing it now. I got it randomly at a garage sale for $5. I go, sure, why the hell not? It's just the Simpsons game. It's just the Simpsons.
That's the one that's based off the movie, right?
Yeah, it came out. It's not based off, but it came out when the movie. It was like a cross launch. It came out like when the movie came out on DVD and. No, VHS was gone. Well, was VHS gone by 2007? Probably.
I think the last one came out in like 2006.
Yeah, so when it came out on DVD, it was like a dual launch. It was the DVD and the game came out the same day. It's all right. It's nothing. It's playable, but nothing worth writing home about it. So, definitive answer is Hit and Run, best Simpsons game that they've ever made.
Okay. And let me ask you, do you think they'll make any more at this point with how far along The Simpsons is in general? Would there be an audience that would play video games still that would play The Simpsons?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah. Okay. I was going to say the same thing.
I think if they do, they're going to do a compilation. Here's everything. If they can, dealing with voiceover talent is probably not the easiest thing. But maybe everything before voices came into the games.
Like a classic collection like they did with like Ninja Turtles.
Exactly. But those games weren't very good, so I don't think anybody's clamoring for them.
No, I would agree. That's the problem is the Turtles games were classics.
The easiest thing for them to do would be put the arcade game on.
I would buy that. Like if they put that on like the Nintendo Switch, I would pay for that in a heartbeat.
Give an update, give an HD upgrade of that, and put up there.
I don't even need an HD upgrade, man. I would literally do like the square ratio, pixelized, whatever, and I would have a great time with it. But I do feel like. Well, but at the same time, I do feel like there's been so many games that have gotten that kind of HD treatment that look really good and fun. And I think The Simpsons, if they did re-release The Simpsons as like Simpsons Arcade HD, I think that would sell well. You know what I mean?
I just saw a trailer. Do you remember the show Gargoyles?
I do. Gargoyles. Of course I remember Gargoyles. Classic Disney cartoon.
They're making an HD version of that also from the Super Nintendo
I did see
games.
that. And you could switch back and forth between the HD and the regular graphics.
That's cool.
Yeah, that's good stuff. See,
That was
that
was a bad trailer though, because they showed that you could actually switch to HD like halfway through the trailer. I'm like,
yeah.
so it's not a remake. It's just it is. Okay, great. Yeah. About 30 seconds into the 1 minute trailer, I'm like, oh, maybe you should have let off with that.
I'm thinking, yeah, just to show that what you can do. Yeah, because like so many games have do that now. Like the Halo collection, I know you can switch between the old graphics and the new graphics.
I believe DuckTales also.
I think maybe, because DuckTales, I feel like they built from the ground up is new, so I don't know if they switched between them or not. Maybe. I don't know. I have it, or I had it at one point. I don't think I have it anymore, but who knows. All right, so there's one last thing I want to cover with you before we wrap up. But before I get to that, I know Simpsons was a merchandising machine for so many years, and we talked video games already, but they had so many other things, clothing, toys, board games, you name it. I know you have a small collection of Simpsons figures that are from back in the day now, but back then, when you were a kid, did you have any other Simpsons toys or things like that?
No, I didn't have anything. I didn't have any. The figures that I collect now are from 2000, which is that's disgusting. I'm 23 years old.
Yeah.
I didn't own any VHSs. I didn't own any video games. They were all rented. I think the first piece of like Simpsons anything was when they came out on DVD.
Yeah.
And that was before. I feel like this could be an episode. Maybe this is an episode. Maybe we could talk about Black Friday. Because
we kind of did with our Thanksgiving episode last year.
Yeah, but I feel like Black Friday didn't come out like and become big till we were in college. Because I remember when we were in college, I worked at Target, and my first Black Friday, there was nobody there. Nobody there. So, but all the Simpsons DVDs were 50% off. So I just came out with a stack of Simpsons DVDs. But that was probably the first stuff I ever bought. Was the DVDs, and the figures are just in the last maybe year or so.
Yeah.
So not a lot of stuff.
Okay. All right, that's fair.
Sorry to burst.
I do have one memory. No, it's okay. I have one memory about The Simpsons that I totally forgot to share, and it just came to me now, so I want to share it real quick. It's not related to merchandise, but I remember I made a choice that if there truly are branching timelines, I feel like this is the moment that had I made a different decision would have turned me into a Simpsons fan that would follow the show.
Okay.
But it's a decision I made. I was in first or second grade, and every Thursday night, The Simpsons were on TV, and I had a choice this week. I had family in town, and they were going to the movie theater, and they said to me, well, you can either go with them to see this movie and stay up late, or you can stay home and watch The Simpsons. What do you choose?
And you said, I want to go see the Ninja Turtle movie.
No, it wasn't Ninja Turtles.
That was a good guess, though.
It was a good guess, and I appreciate that guess. I chose to go to the movies and see Mrs. Doubtfire.
Oh, you should have stayed home and watched The Simpsons.
Oh, see, and Mrs. Doubtfire is one of my favorite movies of all time. So I think it's because I saw it. But like I said, had I decided to stay home and watch The Simpsons, maybe I would have said, okay, I'm committed to this show. I'm going to watch it every week. But I remember it was a Thursday night. I don't know why I remember that, but it was a Thursday night. And I decided to go with my aunt, my aunt and uncle who are in town. They wanted to take me to the movies. So I agreed to that.
Thursday.
Yep. There it is. All right, so before we wrap up, we're going to bring back a segment that I have not done on this show in a very long time. We're going to play a little game called ATFQ, also known as Answer the Question. So with that, we're going to cue the music.
And now for everyone's new second favorite game show, it's ATFQ, or Answer the Questions.
I've never done this before on this show.
You have not. This is your first time. I've done it with several people, but you are not one of them.
Okay, be gentle. It's my first time.
Is that a Catwoman quote from Batman Returns?
I don't know who it's from. I stole it from somebody.
I think it might have been Catwoman. Anyway, either way, it's simple. I'm going to ask you 10 questions. We're just going to see how many you get right. Okay, we're going to ask you some Simpsons trivia questions.
Okay. And I truly have not seen these folks swear.
Yeah, no, for real. I pulled them up while we were doing this show because
I swear to Batman because, if you swear to God, you got to swear to Batman instead.
That's right. Yeah, that's just how it goes. All right, 10 questions. I don't think they're that hard, especially for a super fan or even a somewhat
Average fan.
Above average fan. You're above average fan.
Slightly
compared to me.
above average.
Yes.
Yes. I would say in general, I'm slightly above average.
Yes.
On a
So we're
scale
going
of
to see
1 to
how many.
10 Scale of 1 to 10, I would say I'm a 6.5 or a 7.
I like it. All right. So we're going to see how you do. You ready?
Let's do it.
Okay. All right. Now, question number 1. And I want first and last name here. Okay.
Oh, okay.
What is the name of the bartender in Moe's Tavern?
Mo Sizlak.
There you go.
Like
Correct.
that.
Okay. Question number 2. Who shot Mr. Burns in the 2-part episode Who Shot Mr. Burns?
Maggie Simpson.
Correct.
That was terrible. Actually,
Yes.
may I interrupt for a moment?
Sure. Yeah, of course.
That's another memory I have of The Simpsons back in the day. That was a big deal, Who Shot Mr. Burns. I remember they had Slurpee cups and this big thing with 7-Eleven. And it was a great storyline, and then they revealed who it was.
People were pissed. I do remember that. Yes.
Yeah.
And that was still during the golden years, but so
It was, yeah.
it's a low point. I guess.
Should have been Smithers. Would have made more sense.
Yeah, of course. But then he wouldn't have been able to stick around because he would have had to go to gone to jail at that point or whatever. But
Do you know who the police chief is? It would have been fine. Wiggum would have let him walk.
that's fair. Yeah. Okay, here we go. I wouldn't have known this answer, so let's see if you know it. What is the name of Ned Flanders' store at the Springfield Mall?
The Leftatorium.
There you go. Okay,
Yeah.
correct. All right, 3 for 3. Number 4. What character is known for saying, "Don't have a cow, man"?
That's Bartholomew Simpson.
There it is. Yeah, I knew that one. Come on.
Yeah, that was the easy one.
Yeah, another easy one for you here, back to back. Number 5. What instrument does Lisa Simpson play?
The saxophone.
Very good.
Or as
And
Homer
she
says,
played-
a saxophone.
All right, piggybacking on that with yet another pretty simple question here. What is the name of the school in Springfield that Bart and Lisa attend?
Springfield Elementary.
Very good. Number 7. Who is the owner of the nuclear power plant where Homer works?
Mr. Burns. C. Montgomery Burns.
Thank you. I was going to say full name, please.
Yes.
Okay. Another first and last name here. What character is the principal, or at least was, I think still is, of Springfield Elementary School?
Seymour Skinner.
And as a follow-up bonus, do you remember what Seymour Skinner's actual name is?
Oh, you know what? I was thinking that. Something Transarian.
We're going to look it up right now because I didn't know. I wasn't.
It
yes.
is something Transarian.
It is Armin Tamzarian.
I was close.
Or Armin, excuse me.
That episode was stupid. Do you know about that? Or
I do, because I saw a YouTube video.
I think
criticizing
everybody hates that episode.
it. Yeah. Do you remember who
Okay.
voiced the actual Seymour Skinner?
No.
It'd be Martin Sheen.
Oh, really?
I believe so, yeah. Terrible
I
episode,
think
though.
so. 3 things we could take out of this: the golden era. We have a good idea of when the years are.
Yeah.
Best video game. Pretty much everybody will agree it's Hit and Run. And worst episode is that stupid Seymour Skinner episode. I think everybody hates that episode.
Yeah.
God, now I'm angry.
Okay, here we go. All right, well, you're 8 for 8 so far, okay?
Great.
You may be the first person to go undefeated on this show, by the way.
Oh, okay.
Question number 9. What is the name of the clown on Krusty the Clown's TV show?
Krusty the Clown.
Well, no. The other one.
Yeah,
guess he's not really a clown.
Sideshow Mel?
No.
Sideshow Bob.
There it is, Sideshow Bob. I guess you're probably right with all 3 of those. So
Yeah.
technically,
There
any
you
of
go.
those answers would have been accepted.
So I'm going to get 13 out of 10?
No, listen, that was 9, okay? And
Okay.
you're 9 for 9. I'm going to give that to you, okay?
Okay.
Question number 10. You ready?
Sure.
What is the secret ingredient in the Flaming Moe cocktail?
Oh, no.
This is one I thought I was going to stump you with, so I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad to see, I should say.
You
that
know what?
are-
This is all because when I went to Universal, I couldn't actually get a drink at Moe's Tavern. They were closing.
Ah,
Is it eye drops?
no. Do you want to know the answer? Or do you want one more?
Yeah.
I'll give you one more guess.
Some sort of poison?
Nope.
Nope.
In fact, quite the opposite. Something designed to make you feel better. The answer is cough syrup.
Oh, shit. Yeah. You're right. Obviously, you're right, but now I remember it. Yep. Damn.
There it is. All right. Well, listen, that's going to wrap it up for this week's episode. But I did say that you'd be back next week.
Yep, we're going to be
Because-
talking about the Treehouse of Horror, right?
Yes, that's one thing we did not touch on this entire episode because I wanted to save it for its own episode for the spooky season. One of the things The Simpsons is most well known for, to the point where it's its own separate playlist on Disney Plus, is the Treehouse of Horrors. And I guess at this point there has been 30 of them at least, right? Because it's been...
I believe so, 30. I see that on Disney Plus, there's 30 of them. I started to go through them, and they're a little rough in the beginning, but they once you get into that golden era, they really get their groove in.
Yep. So the Treehouse of Horrors, the Halloween episode every year for The Simpsons, set the standard for sitcom Halloween stories, in my opinion, at least. I feel like there's so many other shows that had a Halloween episode that's it's hit or miss. You know, there's a couple. In fact, might even shout those out next week. But The Simpsons has done it consistently for pretty much every year.
Yeah.
So
I believe they
very
started
excited
season 2.
I think so. I think you're absolutely right. So very excited to talk about those next week. And just, getting geared up again for Halloween. So this is coming out on the 18th. That'll be the 25th. So yeah, right before Halloween. Perfect to get you in the mood for it. And super excited. So Lou, thank you for coming on, man.
Excellent.
There's nobody else I would rather have done this with than you. So
thank you.
Appreciate it. Yes. Again, this is another circle on the Lou Carnivale Venn diagram that I've got here on my wall. So, and next week we're going to just keep it going with the Treehouse of Horrors. So, with that said, guys, a couple of plugs here at the end because I always forget and I always kick myself for not including it. Even though I could probably just include it in post-production and nobody would know, be none the wiser. But we are, don't forget, on Facebook, on YouTube, on Instagram, all at Generation S Podcast. So make sure you give us a look, give us a follow. We've got some great content on YouTube that Lou here is primarily responsible for. He puts out some great stuff, a lot of Power Rangers content. We put out a lot of just 90s content in general, video games, things like that. Make sure you are, if you can, leave a review for us, okay? I've seen some reviews on the Facebook page, and I so appreciate that. Make sure you're also leaving a review on Spotify or on iTunes, wherever you're listening to this, so that it can get more visible to other people that are looking for nostalgia podcasts. Spread the word. Word of mouth is obviously a classic way. In fact, I real quick, Lou, I know your cousin is now a fan of the show because of one of the episodes we did not too long ago. I think he texted you while he was listening to it.
Yeah, it was the Disney Channel movies.
Yeah, so that's right. You weren't even on there. It was one I was doing with a fantastic guest, and and he texted you about that, and so I was like, that's really cool that he's listening to the show. So
learned
just
something about my
word.
cousin too, because he goes, "I love these. These are my childhood." I go, "I had no idea."
Yeah. No,
Okay,
that was a great.
cool.
I was Amy from the Pop Culture Retrospective podcast came on for that, and that was a fun discussion. But stuff like that, I love getting texts from random people that I didn't realize listened to the show, like, "Oh, I love that you did this" or what have you. So seriously, if you know anyone that would love to listen to the show, we've got plenty of episodes to choose from for them to get started, and you can listen to them in any order. There's really no chronology except for some of the part 1, part 2 type things, but there's not a lot of those even too. So just let people know about the show. We're continuing to grow. We had a big boost in numbers a couple of weeks back. We've kind of settled back down now. So, but I'd love to get those numbers back up. So, please tell a friend about the show. Leave a review. That'll really help as well. So, with that said, because it is a spooky season, I'm going to also plug my second podcast that I do now on a bi-weekly basis. It is not related at all to Generation S, but it is all about beer and scary movies. It is called Beer Before Fear. So if you like beer or scary movies, it's going to be right up your alley. Make sure you check that out. We are almost 10 episodes into that show, Beer Before Fear. So that being said, guys, thank you so much for listening this week. And get ready. Next week, we're talking Treehouse of Horrors for The Simpsons. And until then, we'll talk to you soon.
Goodbye.